By the winter of 1978, the British state was paralyzed. Trash literally piled up in London's public squares because sanitation workers were on strike. In some cities, even the gravediggers walked off the job, leaving the dead unburied. The government had tried to cap wage increases at 5% to fight off crippling double-digit inflation. In response, over 1 million public sector workers set up picket lines. The result was a total gridlock of the nation's most essential services. Desperate for a functioning economy, the public voted out the incumbent Labour government. On May 3, 1979, Margaret Thatcher took office, promising an uncompromising bitter medicine to cure the national decline. These domestic strategies soon traveled far beyond the UK, providing the framework for a global transition toward deregulation and private ownership. For 35 years, the UK had operated on a consensus where the state owned massive sectors of the economy and actively managed demand to guarantee full employment. Thatcher abandoned that playbook entirely. She introduced privatization, the deliberate sell-off of state-owned industries to private citizens. Massive government monopolies like British Airways, gas, and telecommunications were suddenly floated on the public stock exchange. Millions of citizens bought shares, generating billions in revenue for the Treasury and injecting aggressive competition into the market. To make these newly privatized companies efficient, the government needed to cut costs. But standing in the way of those cuts was a heavily entrenched system of trade unions, who historically used their massive membership to veto reforms. This friction peaked in 1984 when the national coal miners went on strike to protest pit closures. Unlike previous prime ministers, Thatcher refused to negotiate. She stockpiled coal in advance and simply waited the union out for a full year. When the miners finally returned to work without a single concession, the political power of the unions was effectively dismantled. The government had demonstrated that it could now implement its agenda without the consent of organized labor. With the state retreating and unions weakened, the private sector surged. Stripping away heavy regulations paved the way for an explosion in financial businesses. In 1986, the government executed a massive deregulation of the financial markets, known as the Big Bang. Almost overnight, London was transformed into a high-speed, hyper-competitive global financial hub, generating immense new wealth. This chart tracks the United Kingdom's inflation rate over the decade, peaking near 20% in 1980. As high interest rates and tight money supply policies took hold, the rate dropped sharply, proving the harsh macroeconomic medicine was working. While the service-heavy southern counties boomed, the industrial north faced devastation. Heavy manufacturing sectors like steel, shipbuilding, and coal were left fully exposed to global competition, collapsing without state subsidies. Two distinct economies emerged: a concentration of southern wealth relying on finance, permanently separated from a northern region grappling with mass unemployment and closed factories. This became known as the North-South Divide. The nation's total GDP grew substantially, but the rigid execution of these free market reforms created geographic and social fractures that remain deeply ingrained in British politics today. This domestic reputation for absolute rigidity naturally spilled over into her foreign policy. After delivering a blistering public warning about Soviet military dominance, the Soviet Army newspaper dubbed her the Iron Lady. She embraced the title immediately. That shared intense anti-communism made her a natural partner for U.S. President Ronald Reagan. The two forged a tight alliance based on a mutual belief that the West needed to negotiate with Moscow from a position of overwhelming military strength. She backed up that philosophy with physical hardware. Tripling the UK's nuclear forces, she purchased the Advanced Trident missile submarine system directly from the United States to guarantee Britain's independent deterrent. When Argentina invaded the British Falkland Islands in 1982, she dispatched a naval task force 8,000 miles across the Atlantic to retake them by force. That victory broadcast a clear signal to the Soviets: Western democracies were willing to fight. Thatcher's willingness to absorb immense political damage at home, from strikes to mass unemployment, sent a message to the Kremlin. To her rivals, a leader who refused to buckle under domestic pressure was unlikely to yield in a global military standoff. This created a geopolitical paradox. Precisely because she was known as an uncompromising hardliner, She had the political cover to be the first Western leader to safely engage with Soviet reformer Mikhail Gorbachev. She hosted him in Britain months before he even officially became the Soviet leader. After meeting Gorbachev, she contacted Reagan and assured him that this was a Soviet leader they could actually do business with. That personal guarantee from the Iron Lady cracked the diplomatic ice, setting the stage for the nuclear arms reduction treaties that accelerated the end of the Cold War. By the time she left office, the political settlement born on May 3, 1979, had become the new global baseline. Her strict cocktail of privatization, financial deregulation, and unflinching military deterrence was exported and adopted as the standard operating system for modern economies. The policies used to end Britain's 1979 paralysis became the model for a world shifting toward market-driven governance. Whether the economic stability they brought was worth the permanent social fractures remains a central question for modern Britain. If you want to explore more inflection points that built our modern world, hit subscribe.